Merci beaucoup. Vos Excellences, Prime Minister Harper, Prime Minister Chrétien, Premier Ford, Premier Mo, bienvenue. Monsieur Poiliev, chers collègues, ladies and gentlemen. We are taking part in a proud tradition that began in 1890. The official portraits of prime ministers seek to capture their character and the context that define their leadership. And if you just heard, one of Canada's, the world's finest portrait painters has taken up this task, Phil Richards, entrusted by Canada's 22nd Prime Minister to paint the portrait of Her Majesty the Queen on her Diamond Jubilee. As those who have known him privately can attest, Stephen Harper has never been drawn to spectacle, but always to service. He served as Prime Minister of Canada for nearly a decade, the sixth longest tenure in our history, leaving an extensive record of policy and legislative accomplishments. In a political climate increasingly buffeted by noise, he brought composure, intellect, and decisiveness to public life. Qualities that helped see Canada through one of the most perilous times since the Great Depression. In autumn of 2008, with the global financial markets in free fall, credit markets frozen, global banks failing, his government's actions were decisive. Our institutions remained trusted. Canada stood strong. J'ai eu le privilège d'être gouverneur de la Banque du Canada sous le mandat du Premier ministre Harper. Et pendant la crise financière mondiale, on a assisté à un degré de coordination hors commun entre le gouvernement du Canada et la Banque du Canada, une coordination qui a respecté l'indépendance de la politique monétaire tout en reconnaissant la nécessité d'une action concertée face à des circonstances exceptionnelles. Nos réunions ont toujours été franches, ciblées et axées sur les résultats, qu'il s'agit de gérer la crise des PCA ou de fournir de la liquidité pour que les Canadiens puissent garder leur maison. Stephen Harper was and is a conviction politician, but he was also, when circumstances warranted, a pragmatist. Came to Ottawa as a balanced budget conservative, believing rightly I got to a comma, not a period. Believing rightly that government should live within their means. You like that as well. But when the financial crisis struck, he did not let ideology prevent him from doing what was necessary, running deficits for 5 years to support the Canadian economy through the worst global downturn in generations. This was not a betrayal of principles. It was an expression of a deeper principle. The purpose of sound fiscal management is to serve Canadians, not the other way around. Mr. Harper understood that you build up strength in good times to have that capacity in very bad times. Well, his fiscal policy was temporary, timely, and targeted. Stephen Harper's vision of Canada was expansive. Born and raised in Toronto, he was called to Calgary, where he became a steadfast champion of Western Canada. La motion de M. Harper, adoptée par le Parlement reconnaissant le peuple québécois comme une nation au sein d'un Canada uni, reconnaissez le caractère unique de l'histoire, l'identité, de la langue commune et de la culture dynamique des Québécoises et Québécois. Et elle affirmait que l'unité du Canada n'exige pas l'uniformité et que nous sommes plus forts lorsque nous reconnaissons, célébrons et protégeons nos identités. Beyond that, one of many defining moments, Prime Minister Harper consistently understood that Canada's strength has always come from holding together a country that stretches from coast to coast to coast. He spoke directly to Western Canada's sense of contribution, the responsibility not as a region to be managed, but as a core pillar of our national project. He once said, probably more than once, he once said that in politics you take risks, and that national unity, national reconciliation are more important than any one party or any one individual. This room fully shares that vision. Because national unity is not an abstract. It's what allows Canada to do big things, to defend our sovereignty, to build our economic strength, to act with confidence in a more uncertain world. Prime Minister Harper was proud, and I quote, "The Canadians of every conceivable ethnic background are building the most civilized society the world has ever known, and that our diversity offers a ray of hope to that world." As Prime Minister, Stephen Harper also emphasized that Canadian citizenship is an immense privilege and recognized the values and responsibilities that come with that privilege. He reminded us that freedom is sustained by the willingness of citizens to contribute, to serve, and sometimes to sacrifice. That the privileges of Canadian citizenship are not merely gifts to be received and enjoyed, but also trusts to be honored and protected. And so, when those values of freedom, democracy, and sovereignty were under threat abroad, he defended them. After Vladimir Putin invaded Crimea, Prime Minister Harper launched Operation Unifier, sending hundreds of Canadian Armed Forces personnel to train Ukrainian soldiers. That operation continues today and has grown into our central role as part of the coalition of the willing to support Ukraine through this horrific, illegal war and through to a just and lasting peace. Prime Minister Harper was a prescient champion of Canada's Arctic, investing in Arctic infrastructure, asserting our claims, and reminding the world that the true North is not just a line in our anthem, but our sovereignty that we will always defend. Thank you. Since leaving office, Stephen Harper has continued to contribute to Canada's future, writing, teaching, strengthening our role as a beacon, an example to a world at sea. Au cours de la dernière année, alors que notre pays était confronté à des attaques et des pressions commerciales sans précédent, il a dénoncé ceux qui menacent notre souveraineté et il a appelé avec détermination à bâtir un Canada moins dépendant des États-Unis et plus résilient qui s'appuie sur ses propres forces. Il a également pris le temps de me conseiller, ce que j'ai grandement apprécié. Le portrait du Premier ministre Harper rend hommage à sa vie au service des autres, à son leadership et à son amour pour notre pays. Il honore également sa volonté, comme celle de tous ceux qui l'ont précédé, de rendre notre pays encore plus exceptionnel. It is fitting that a Prime Minister who regularly reminded us of the lessons of our history, I don't know why it comes to mind, for example, the bicentennial of the War of 1812. It is fitting that that Prime Minister, that intellectual, that historian will join a historic pantheon. Mr. Harper, Stephen, your portrait will soon take its place alongside those of MacDonald and Laurier, King and Diefenbaker, Trudeau and Mulrooney, builders of our country in the past, examples to our country for our future. On behalf of all Canadians, I thank you for your remarkable service to our country and for the legacy upon which we are now called to build. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.